Is the real estate market in Los Angeles going to crash?
Home ownership, it's the American dream. Historically, the best investments that anybody can make, and even if values do decline, it always comes back up.
I meet a lot of clients on a weekly basis that they see something on the news, they read an article, but they don't dig deeper to what are they actually saying. I do believe you have to work with a true professional that can truly guide you, because there's gonna be people that will overpay. Hi, and welcome back. This is season 2 of Black Belt in Real Estate. On demand by you, we are back recording a new season here, answering some of the most important questions when buying, selling, and investing in real estate in Los Angeles. In the past season, we answered some great questions, such as pros and cons of buying a fixer-upper, how to become a millionaire in real estate, and how to find the best agent to help you get there. In this season, we're gonna dig deeper. We're gonna address the elephant in the room. Is the real estate market in Los Angeles crashing? How do you test the knowledge of your realtor? And should you move to LA? And many, many other things. Again, I'm honored to have my mentor, feels like my big brother, James Suarez, the CEO of the Suarez team, the #1 team for Keller Williams in California. So everybody, thank you for being here with us, and let's have some fun. Hey, James, how are you?
Doing great, Peter. Thanks for having me back.
I'm so excited that we're back. We've upgraded the studio. Shout out to Jay. And we're here to deliver even more value. One of the best things with the past season was what I heard from buyers, sellers, and investors out there, and the value that we provided. So first of all, thank you for taking the time. I know how busy you are with family, with running a big real estate team, and just navigating through life. So thanks for being here.
It's absolutely my pleasure.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to be with you, James. And during these couple of years, I've gotten to know you personally, and you have mentored me, and I'm learning new things every day. And I want to talk about one of the most Googled phrases right now. And it's been Googled for the last couple of years, but I think right now in the next year or so, it's an even hotter topic, and that is the real estate market in Los Angeles going to crash?
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, I wish I had a crystal ball to give you the answer, but I think what we need to focus on is the data, right? Because oftentimes the numbers will tell us a story and help us predict, what's coming. And looking at the data, I mean, what's going to cause values to possibly decelerate or maybe even slightly decline is the interest rate. We all know that the interest rates have been going up, mainly to combat inflation. One of the culprits of inflation is these, real estate prices. That being said, a lot of people remember and they're scared about what happened, from 2007, because that really was a real estate crash. And that was caused by the housing market. But that time is different than this time, mainly because the amount of equity sellers have or homeowners have in their house. Over 50% of homeowners have over 50% equity in their homes, whereas in 2007, right, when values were going up, they would buy their home with almost nothing down. The value would go up, then they would pull out the entire amount of equity they have. So when value started to decline, they were like, well, I have no money in this, right? I just going to give this back to the bank, whereas that's not the case today. Homeowners have a ton of equity in their home, and instead of people needing to sell like they did there, now it's more of a want to, and they're not going to walk away from all that equity in the house and let the property go back to the bank. They'll sell it first or figure out another creative way to keep their property.
Yeah, and one thing that the take that I have on why this is such a hot topic is that people want to get in and get a deal, right? Because the stock market hasn't been delivering, and today it's up, and people want to get in, and they want to get in at a good price. So it's a very interesting topic. And from where I'm sitting, helping clients every day, hello, it's LA. People always want to live here, don't you think?
Yeah, of course. I mean, again, if you go back and look at the history of real estate, right, values have continued to, climb, right? The market cycles, every 10 years, right? It's a normal cycle. We normally see some time of decelerating or declining, followed by normally, a quick steep of incline. And, like I said, none of us have a crystal ball. I think it's actually a great time to both sell a property because we're still toward the height of the market. And I think it's a great time to buy a property. I mean, if anybody bought at the beginning of 2022, most likely they overpaid for a property. So yeah, great, they got one of these lower interest rates, but they probably, with these bidding wars, because the inventory was so low, had to drastically overpay for a property. Whereas buyers in today's market have more to choose from. They have a little bit more flexibility in price. They don't have to pay 20% over market value. And yes, their interest rates are higher, but if we look at the average interest rate over the history of real estate, it's 7.7, right? And even if we get to the eights or the nines, there's also creative financing with 3-2-1 buy downs, there's wraparound loans, there's assumptions. So there's a lot of great ways that both sellers and buyers can take advantage of the market that we're entering. And it's real estate. It's still the number one investment that people can make in America.
Yeah, and one thing that I want to challenge the audience, if you're watching and listening to this, is to ask yourself, how do you want your life to look like, right? For example, myself, I want to buy a home right now, and I'm studying the market every day because I want to coach my clients. We're learning from you and from all of the experts. And most homeowners keep their home for 7+ years, right? And I believe if you are looking for a better lifestyle and still are very thorough with your numbers so you don't pay those crazy numbers that some people did early this year, you should be good. And also you should be able to enjoy life.
Yeah, 100%. And what I tell buyers right now who are on the fence or waiting for this, crash that's coming is, again, look at the numbers, because even when you look at foreclosures, those are still declining right now. It's not like we're seeing a huge uptick. And if the deterrent is the hindrance of buying is the interest rate, it's like, well, you're renting right now, so you're paying somebody else's mortgage. So really you're paying 100% interest. Or home ownership is, it's the American dream, right? It's one of the, historically the best investments that, anybody can make. And even if values do decline, again, look at the history, right? It always comes back up. But yes, I mean, when you're looking at home ownership, it's, first home, right? It's your home, you own it, you can do with it what you want, you can paint, a wall purple, you can paint a wall pink. You don't have to ask permission. Of course, I'm not sure if that's what you want to do unless it's your daughter's room like we did. But again, it's yours to do with what you will. And again, you're making your own payments, your own equity versus, somebody else's payments and equity. Now, don't tell my renters that, because I do own property and they rent it. But I even help them buy, because again, that's the American dream. And 90% of millionaires made their millions in real estate. And as Warren Buffett said, the goal is not always to try to buy at, or sell at the top or buy at the bottom, because people a lot smarter than us still miss it every time, right? The goal is to get in. And once you're in, it's a long-term investment play of not only home ownership, but also a great investment play as well.
Yeah, and I think if you're listening to this and watching this, study where you get your information from, because I meet a lot of clients on a weekly basis that they see something on the news, they read an article, but they don't dig deeper to what are they actually saying. And if you're listening to this, watching now, make sure to check the data and check with a professional, an expert that can actually dig deeper and say, what does it mean that interest rates are increasing so much? And what could the benefit be for me as a home buyer? I see it myself right now. Speaking of Warren Buffett, I think he said something like, when other people are fearful, that's when the opportunities are around. But I do believe you have to work with a true professional that can truly guide you, because there's going to be people that will overpay, right?
Yeah, well, first off, we all have to agree that, the media's job is to get viewers, and oftentimes they get viewers by, pumping in fear into our society, and they also use, averages, right? Whereas real estate is very, very localized, right? Zillow just did a report on the five markets that are probably going to be hit, the hardest, which, Vegas, Austin, Boise. Whereas, yeah, I mean that would make sense, but Los Angeles is different than Austin and Vegas and Boise. It's Los Angeles, and there's always this constant demand, and there's a ton of money in Los Angeles. I mean, we're still seeing buyers pay all cash. I mean, that's very common. Whereas some of these other areas, there's not so much wealth as there is in Los Angeles.
Yeah, and I think now more than ever, I'm curious on your thought. When I talk to my clients, say location, location, location. Look at Beverly Hills. Now we're talking about the best zip code in the world. But there are many of those if you live in Los Angeles, and we can dig deeper on that another time. But during any 10-year period in Beverly Hills, there's never been, it's always been at least double-digit appreciation. If you look at it for a 10-year period, yearly, I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's like investing in stock, right? Los Angeles is like a blue chip stock. I mean, it's just, it's always going to be highly demanded. And yes, values may fluctuate, but again, like what I would suggest is go back and look at the data, right? History normally repeats itself, and Los Angeles has always been one of the best performing markets. And then within Los Angeles, there's a lot of these sub-markets as well, all that have been, outperforming, the average, because like we talked about, real estate is localized, right? Location, location, location. So, I know you're looking to buy a property, and I think it's a great investment to purchase versus renting. I mean, renting in a time of inflation is one of the worst things that you can do. It's like, having your money in the savings account during inflation, you're actually losing money, right? Renting during inflation, you're losing money, right? You're paying somebody else's mortgage. You're making somebody else money. Whereas, is there a perfect time to get in? Again, I go back to the people who bought at the beginning of the year in 2022. They had to pay 10% or 20% over market value. So the argument could be, would you rather have paid 20% over market value? Or would you rather maybe get a property for market value, maybe a little bit under, and have a little bit higher of interest rate, knowing that, hey, once inflation is combated, once the recession is over, historically, rates come down about 2%, so you just refi, right? There's a funny saying in real estate, which is you marry the house, you date the interest rate, because as soon as the interest rate goes down, I know you're going to call your clients and be like, okay, it's time to refi.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think what many buyers right now are maybe not aware of is that because things are sitting a little bit longer on the market, historically, it's still a seller's market in most areas in Los Angeles that we serve, but it has slowed down from the COVID era when it was kind of nobody had predicted how hot the market was. So looking at things such as, and we're going to talk more about that in other episodes, but explore with your real estate professional that there are, in some scenarios, seller financing, which can get you a lower interest rate. There are the buy downs where you can get the seller to actually sweeten the deal and make your interest rates lower. So there are options, right?
There's options and there's opportunities in every market, right? Yeah, it is still considered a seller's market. We are still about 40% lower inventory than what a normalized market would be. Again, we have increased inventory, so buyers have more to choose from, and there's more flexibility in the prices, and they can take their time with buying a property. I mean, Zillow just put out a report that 75% of buyers that bought during the pandemic regretted their purchase. Right? On my number one asset and my home, I don't want to regret that purchase, right? So again, there's opportunities in every market for, both sellers and buyers. The important thing is just working with a professional that isn't, a salesperson with commission branch just trying to make another deal, but a consultant that can sit down with you and, hear your wants and your needs and your goals and help best guide you to accomplish that.
One thing for people that are listening to this, they were looking and now they're like on the fence. They don't really know what to do and they don't have that guidance, what are one or two things that would be good for a buyer in Los Angeles right now to start, considering?
Well, I'm a big student of Napoleon Hill, right? And one of his principles of success is specialized knowledge. And I always joke and say, if I was to get marriage advice, I don't go to my friends that are divorced for for that advice, right? I go to my aunt or my uncle that's been married for like 30, 40 years, right? So first off, it's making sure that you're working with a real estate agent that, has that specialized knowledge, that is experienced. In fact, 70% of agents got their real estate license after the 2007 real estate crash. So they don't have the experience of, a different market than what we've been experiencing for the last few years. So first and foremost is to get that specialized knowledge, right? Second is, making sure that, the resources that you're reading. I mean, you can go on social media and you can even go on the news and read whatever you want, right? And the way that retargeting works is, whatever you Google, they're going to give you more information. So if you Google real estate crash, you're going to hear about more real estate crash. But, experts are very much divided right now. Depending on who you read and what article, some experts are predicting that the market's going to just decelerate, flatten out with a slight incline. Others are predicting that, there's going to be, a decline, but I'm not really reading anywhere where we're going to see a crash, right? If we experience a decline in prices, maybe it's going to be 5% every year. Maybe it's going to be, a little bit more, 10%. But again, what I would go back to is, what does it always do, right? It always comes back up. And again, if you're renting right now, you're constantly losing money. So it's one, running the numbers, and then two, making sure you're working with a true professional that is studying the market every day and that can review the analytics and the data and the trends to help you make the best decision. Because if you do think values are going to drop, 5 or 10%, great. Would it be crazy to think that if we found you a house where there's 5 or 10% negotiation, under market value, that you would want to buy, especially if we can get creative financing? I mean, that sounds like the perfect case scenario. I know you're buying. I know I'm still looking for investments. I'm selling, and, there's opportunities in every market. You just have to know where those opportunities are and then been properly guided on how to capitalize on them.
I love that. And I think it's also a long-term play. I was speaking with our teammate Will the other day, and he was telling me when, I think it's in 2005, he bought his first property, very young. And after that, obviously 2008 happened. But he held on to the property, he rented it, he lived with some roommates, eventually got married, and then 1 or 2 years, so he sold it and built his dream house in Manhattan Beach, right? That's a cool story, and it's a long-term play owning real estate like any asset, I would say.
That is why real estate is still to this day, even in this market, the number one investment, an American can make in this market, right? Now, again, you guys should be smart about, what market you buy in and the type of property. And it doesn't make sense to overpay right now, right? But it's about, again, being properly guided, the specialized knowledge, because I say again, there's opportunities in every market.
I like that. And also being systematic in your approach. I think we're talking about the Zillow survey that there were so many people that weren't happy with their home, and it was almost because it was a frenzy. You didn't have time. I know some people who looked at a house less than I would try on a shirt in the store, right? And then bought it. And then you realize, oh, it's not the location we want. The backyard is too small, and so forth. So I think getting a little bit more time now to be systematic and kind of think things through and look at the data, it's actually a benefit.
It's a huge benefit. I go back to, experience matters now more than ever, right? If you won, the lottery, right? Or you just, your retirement, right? Would you go and give your entire life savings to somebody who just became a money manager? Or do you want to work with somebody who has vast experience, who is on one of the top teams, who's constantly studying the data and the metrics to help guide you? And again, it goes back to that specialized knowledge. You want to work with someone who's got the experience, who doesn't just have that commission breath, and that's there to help guide you make the best decision for you and your family. And sometimes, it is not the right time to buy because of certain life circumstances, right? If you think that you may be transferred right, in the next year or two, knowing that, hey, the market may go down in the next year or two, then no, now is probably not the best time to buy. But if your intentions are to be here long term, then yes, I mean, the average homeowner lives in their house for about 7 to 10 years. And, if the real estate market does cycle, it's normally in 10-year cycles. And guess what it does at the end of that cycle, right? It always ends up, much higher. Like even in 2007, I wish I bought more properties. And yes, they would have gone down, but they're so much more valuable than what they were then. So that's the beauty of real estate.
Yeah, there's not more land coming anytime soon, right?
There's not more land. It's a tangible asset. And if it's your home, you get to enjoy it, right?
I'm curious, talking about selling the home, because I think a lot of things are sitting on the market. Things have slowed down. We see the price reduction, but it doesn't tell the whole story. So just from an inside, I know people would probably want to hear this. We have listings that sell in a week still with multiple offers. I just had one, 3 offers, went over asking price in little under 10 days. And this is happening every week. So I think it's important for buyers to also understand, and even sellers, that if it's in a good location, if it's well done or have an upside, people are gonna pay market value or even a little bit above in today's market.
Yeah, I mean, depending on the agent or team you choose, the value of your home can vary, up to 10%. Any agent at the beginning of the year could have put a house on the market and been a rock star, right? Well, the market has shifted. Times are different, right? So it's about first guiding your sellers on the true market value and not an aspirational price. How you position the property, how the property is marketed, but it is still a seller's market. The demand still, outweighs the supply. The supply is still 40% lower than what we would call a normalized market. So yeah, I mean, it's still, Roxanne and I, my wife and I, are selling one of our properties right now. Maybe we're not at the peak of the market, but we're still, toward the height of the market. It's still a seller's market. There's still there's still a large demand, and you just have to be, smart about, the strategy that you're going to take, which again goes back to the consultant or the agent that you choose, making sure that they have, that experience, because you can't do the 3 Ps. You can't put a house in the MLS, you can't put up a sign and then pray that it sells, right? Which did work at, the beginning of 2022. Yeah, that did work, and it was a great market, and we all, every homeowner, got to benefit from that because of the amount of equity. Well, listen, it's still a very good market. It always will be a good market. It's always, a great investment. But yeah, we have to shift, right? We talked about it on the way here. The only constant is change. Yeah. Right? And yeah, the market's changing and we just have to pivot with it.
Yeah. And we're getting ahead of ourselves, James. I think I can feel how excited we are. The episode 2 is actually how to find the best listing agent in Los Angeles. And I think we need to head there quickly because we want to talk about it. I hopefully our listeners and people watching want to know, if you're thinking about selling, like, how do you find that perfect listing agent for you?
Well, real quick, I think they could skip episode 2 and just call you.
Thank you, James.
I think that's the answer. But yeah, I want to get into that because there's good information to share on that too.
Awesome. So yeah, James, I'm excited to be here. I feel pumped up now. I was very nervous doing this first episode. We took a little bit of break from this, but we're here and just want to deliver value.
Deliver value and have fun and give guidance, right? Because that's what it's all about. There's so much misinformation out there right now in regards to the real estate world and the real estate market. And again, when it comes back to specialized knowledge, someone like you that's constantly studying and learning, a buyer and seller can't go wrong if they have someone like you or someone experienced who's guiding them.
Thank you, James. And thank you, everybody, for watching and listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have a friend, a family member that is thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, send them this show. We're answering some of the most important questions that people in this city have right now. So check it out, and we'll see you in episode 2, where we're gonna share deeply on how you find the best listing agent right here in Los Angeles. Thank you for watching and listening to Black Belt in Real Estate. Thank you so much for watching Black Belt in Real Estate. We really appreciate having you here. If you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, we would love the opportunity to interview for your business. James, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, what I would say is just to remember that this is a business decision, not a personal decision. And something that Peter and I and our team pride ourselves on is we look at ourselves more like consultants than we do salespeople. A lot of salespeople have that commission breath and they push you to buy or sell when you're not comfortable, whereas we take a systematic approach, a personalized approach to determine what is best for you and your family. And if now is not the time to buy or sell, we're okay with that, and at least we've given you that information. So as Peter said, we truly would appreciate the opportunity to earn your business.
Thank you so much, and see you soon.